Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be shedding light on how to be successful during the Great Resignation. So how do you attain unprecedented, profound, unalloyed success amid the Great Resignation? What measures do you need to undergo to become profoundly successful during the Great Resignation? Well, you are a pioneer of your own destiny, and you forge your own Moira. You need to be able to recalibrate and reconfigure your life so that you are all the more apt to attain desirable outcomes in your life. Being successful during the Great Resignation entails changing the dynamics of your life. How will you generate revenue? How will you keep yourself afloat? How will you thrive, prosper, and flourish in the pending future? These are overarching inquiries that you need to ask yourself, and you need to know the solutions to being able to move your life in a forward-moving trajectory so that you do not stagnate nor regress in life. So, becoming successful during the Great Resignation entails diversifying your income streams. You no longer want to sell your sacrosanct, indispensable, finite, precious, invaluable time for a pittance of fiat currency. That strategy was always an impotent, nugatory, unavailing, inefficacious strategy for generating revenue because the interests of the employees and the employers are unaligned and they're always diametrically opposed to one another. Bear in mind and render this indelible that an employer always wants to pay you the absolute minimum amount of revenue for the maximum amount of hours worked, whereas you want to receive the absolute maximum amount of revenue for the minimum amount of hours worked, and you're always at the mercy of an employer. They have all the leverage, especially in an employer market, to say the least. And they deem 2 hours of the system manager's time to be commensurate to 1 second of the CEO's time based on the pay disparity between the CEO and the system manager. They will never pay anywhere close to a livable wage. At most, they may possibly pay 1/12 of a livable wage. In the digital era, a livable wage is a average net wage of at least $122 per hour. If you wanted to retire after 2 decades or 20 years elapsed, if you were earning at least $122 per hour as your net wage, after 2 decades elapsed, you would have saved at least $3,600,000, which would be invested in the equities market. If you bought equities that bear dividend yields of 2%, then after 20 years elapsed, you would receive $6,000 in dividend payouts per month, or $72,000 in dividend payouts annually. Post 2 decades elapsing, if you were able to save and subsequently invest $3,600,000 as a result of earning at least $122 per hour from working for 41,600 hours over the course of 2 decades or 20 years or 1/5 of a century. But an employer at most will more than likely pay you around $10. They want to minimize their labor costs and maximize their profits and the wealth of their shareholders at all costs. They do not give an iota about the well-being of their employees. And working real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand induces chronic burnout, chronic fatigue, chronic stress, and an increased mortality rate. Moreover, it also impinges on every facet of your life. Real private sector jobs based on voluntary demand are often deemed to be highly time-consuming, dead-end, minimum wage, dispiriting, unfulfilling, undesirable, harrowing, distressful, brutally wretched jobs that do not pay anything close to even 1/4 of a subsistence wage. And the strategy of being dependent on one source of income from an employer is just so precarious, to say the least, because at any given time the company can become defunct, you could become furloughed, you could become laid off, and you're at the mercy of an employer, and there's no basis for having a future when the job doesn't even pay a livable wage. While you're not guaranteed a penny as an entrepreneur, there's no glass ceiling. Your income, or I should say your earnings potential, is uncapped, is unfeathered, is not tethered to your time. So becoming successful during the Great Resignation means recalibrating your life, changing the way how you earn revenue. You want to be able to build behemoth brands and create income generating assets so that you could build your recurring revenue streams. The only way to get out of poverty is to have your recurring revenue streams as an aggregate offset your recurring expenses. So what are income generating assets? Well, they have the autonomy to generate you income at any given moment. If you cannot afford to buy them, then you need to create them. If you're wealthy, then you can buy income generating assets such as stocks with dividend yields, or corporate bonds, or annuities, or rental properties. However, if you lack a penny to invest, then you need to create your own income generating assets and bring them to fruition on your own. And there's tremendous merit in doing that because you're providing value to others. So income generating assets that you can create, that you could manifest into reality, that you could bring to fruition, that you could usher into the world, encompass videos, archive live stream broadcasts, songs, podcast episodes, audiobooks, custom-made print on-demand merchandise, online courses, software applications, mobile games, photos, and customizable templates. So when you create content, you should create engagement-worthy, viral-worthy, share-worthy, like-worthy, algorithm recommendation-worthy content that is apt to yield high engagement rates, high watch times, and of course, high viewership rates. You want to be able to leverage social media channels to drive traffic to your product pages. When you create content, you want to be able to utilize the utmost optimal metadata that is germane to your content to render it all the more discoverable. When you produce products, you want to be able to not only produce worthwhile, meritorious products, but also want to be able to compete in niche product categories that are not overly saturated. When you produce content, you want to be able to compete in niche user-generated content markets that are not overly saturated. You want to become a dominant market competitor in the niche user-generated content markets that you compete in, and in the product categories that you compete in. You not only want to be able to utilize social media channels in order to drive customer traffic to your product pages to render you all the more apt to earn product sales, but you may also want to consider taking heed of leveraging pay-per-click marketing campaigns in tandem with influencer marketing activities to drive additional customer traffic to your product pages. If you can increase the discoverability of your content, then you can elicit higher volumes of customer traffic on your product pages. It is as simple as that. So that's why it's paramount to grow behemoth brands, because it could help you to drive traffic to your product pages if you could utilize your behemoth brands on social media platforms to migrate your viewers to your product pages where they have the autonomy to procure your products from. You never want your income to be tethered to your time. You want to be able to have autonomy to earn revenue at any given time. Yes, you're not guaranteed a single sale nor view as an entrepreneur, in spite of how meritorious, worthwhile, stellar, and robust your content and products may be, but you have the latent potential to generate extreme wealth if your content builds traction and becomes viral content, and if your products build traction and become viral products. So, in life, as you are acutely aware, you miss 100% of the shots you do not take, metaphorically speaking. So, what that means is you should make an earnest, valiant effort to become profoundly successful as an entrepreneur. And while you're not guaranteed to have any viral content nor viral products, it does not mean it's not possible. And if you did not make an earnest, valiant effort to do so, you will never know. So, you really want your income generating assets as an aggregate to offset your recurring expenses so that you can liberate your time, so that you could maximize your earnings potential, and so that your revenue is no longer tethered to your time. There's no end to working for an employer, especially when it provides no basis for a future as a result of paying no livable wage. And your advantage here in the digital era is that you have access to digital distribution platforms that can simultaneously reach out to billions of people at any given moment. Your products can be disseminated to billions of people at any given moment, as well as your content if they choose to consume it. So you have unlimited scalability if you produce content and digital products. You have unlimited distribution if you produce content and digital products. And if you are able to produce high-value products, and you also have magnitude because you could charge premium prices for your products, and people will acquiesce to paying them if they deem them to warrant their premium prices. So, scalability plus magnitude plus marketing effectiveness equals extreme wealth. If you can efficaciously market, your content and your products are more apt to go viral. And by taking advantage of the digital distribution power of social media platforms to drive traffic to your product pages, there is no limit to how much revenue that can be generated, because at any given moment, your content can reach out to billions of people domiciled around the world via social media platforms, and at any given moment, billions of people from around the world can procure your products if they discover your products. So that's why it's imperative to leverage your social media channels as marketing vehicles to drive traffic to your product pages. And that's all the more reason why it's imperative to build behemoth brands on social media platforms. You want to be able to build your brand equity, your brand recognition, and foster brand loyalty. You want to be able to secure the lucrative lifetime values of customers. You want to be able to produce viral-worthy content as well as viral-worthy products. And you want to be able to diversify your income streams as much as viably possible. Ideally, you want at least 7 to 15 revenue streams, and you want your revenue streams to be on autopilot so that your earnings are uncapped, so that they're unfettered, and so that hopefully if your content, ancestral products go viral, you can generate extreme wealth. I hope that you found this video to be insightful. Have a blissful day. Goodbye.